Manchester United get a brilliant young 17-year-old striker that's very technically gifted and got 4 goals in 3 games so far this season to sign pen to paper and a professional contract with the club. Another Man United striker could be on the way out in Joe Hugo, looking to get a loan move. Manchester United is scouting wingers already ahead of next season. Who are those wingers? As well as reports of Man United putting in a 50 million bid for Evan Ferguson, which Brighton laughed off. Today's video will be rounding up all the Man United transfer news that's come out tonight, but also talking about an emergency meeting that's been held by the board. The board, Murta Arnold, have held an emergency meeting with the club to try and solve problems going on, because it seems that the problems off the pitch are impacting the performance on the pitch. The Anthony Greenwood situation isn't helping, but as Fabrizio Romano says, we all know the takeover is the biggest distraction, but they ain't addressing that quite yet. Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to today's late night video. Although with the way Sky Broadband is working, I think this video is going to be going up very early morning because it's not working right now, just my Wi-Fi, hey. But we're going to be discussing all the latest transfer news and news around United, a few things Ten Hag said, a few things that's come out of the media about emergency meetings and more. This is your news roundup video where we round up everything you need to know about Manchester United in under 10 minutes for you. Starting with this story on Gabriel. Oh, I clicked off it. Gabriel Biancheri, and he has pinned down his first professional contract with United. The young striker has officially signed a contract with United. Now, he only joined Manchester United a couple of months ago as a youth player playing in the under-18s. Fantastic young striker that has the ability to play on the wings, flexible forward, but very technically gifted. And he's only started 1 game this season. He's played 3 games in total, and he has 4 goals. And he's signed pen to paper his first professional contract with United. And he could be one of those youth players that starts to get called up to first team training. We see a lot of youth players that don't necessarily play for United, but they're involved in first team training. With the lack of attacking options, with the lack of striker options right now, I generally think, not going to see him in the next year or so, but I generally think talent-wise, he is up there with the Shea Lacey's, with the Kobbie Mainers, from just what I've seen of him so far. He's an absolutely fantastic player, and 1 start, 4 goals already this season for the under-18s. And I'll tell you something about Biancheri. His ball striking is excellent. He's very technical. He's very fast. He can hold up the ball. There's no weaknesses that I would notice of this guy. He's a very good number 9. I think he's probably the best number 9 United have in the academy right now, because he's technical, he's versatile, he could play across the front 3, but I think he is best as a 9. Great at sort of running fast, all of that stuff. So great young player in the academy, someone that obviously, probably be a bit young to come through and expect anything of him this next season. But I think he's one of those players that could maybe have that Garnacho Greenwood breakthrough. Him, Kobbie Mainoo, Shea Lacey, they're those 3 players in the academy that I think could have those breakthroughs in the coming years. Obviously Shea Lacey is like 15, 16, so he won't be for a while. But obviously we've seen Kobbie Mainoo probably going to have his breakthrough season this year as well. So I'm really happy that he has signed a long-term deal with United. He is a name to watch out for. Now, another name to watch out for is a name that Manchester United is scouting, a player that I'm not going to act like I know a lot about, but a player called Antonio Nusa was being scouted, who plays for Club Brugge. Now, Manchester United have been looking at this player for a while. This has been confirmed by many sources. He is only 18 years of age, and so far in the Belgian Pro League, he has 2 goals and 2 assists in 5 games, and is a brilliant, great young talent. Now, I don't know a lot about this guy, but from the research I've done, it seems he does play on the left wing more than the right wing. But potentially Manchester United are scouting some young wingers for the future. The only question is, with Pellistri, Ahmed and Garnacho all being quite young wingers, do we need to bring in another 18-year-old winger, or should we maybe be looking at someone that's maybe 22, 23, got a bit more experience, and then maybe an Elise type, a Nico Williams type, a Kuba type winger? That's the one question for me. We need to do the right scouting when we sign a right winger. I think we are going to need a right winger next season. We need to make sure we get the right player. I don't want to be getting those 100 million players, those super expensive players. But I think, we almost want to see if there's a player in that 30 to 50 million range that ticks all of those boxes for Ten Hag. That's a great young winger that has end product, that can do everything that's required of a winger as well. Now, the interesting thing was Manchester United were linked to a few right wingers who were free agents. And I was thinking, oh no, are we going to get El Ghazi? Could Manchester United be getting El Ghazi? Are they actually looking at free agents with the Sancho Anthony situation, all of that going on. But Fabrizio Romano has actually addressed this news, and Fabrizio Romano said a few things about United, which I'm going to get into. And the first thing that Fabrizio Romano said is that Manchester United are not signing any free agents to replace Sanchez as Anthony, and are going to trust Pellistri and Garnacho. They will assess the situation in January based on what happens with Sancho. So essentially, Man United will not be getting any free agents in. Potentially, there could be another player coming in for Manchester United in January, just essentially, I guess, depending on the whole situation that goes on with Sancho, because Sancho basically is still refusing to apologise, which I think is crazy. Does he just want to literally not kick football until January and just go on strike? Surely you just work hard and try and fight to get back in the team, especially now Anthony isn't around. But bored of talking about Sancho. In other news, it was said by Fabrizio Romano, which is a bit of a pointless story because it's an if story, that if Xavi Simons didn't return to PSG, Man United were in pole position to sign him. I mean, a player that played in the Eredivisie was good, so of course we were looking at him. But again, a great young player that I would have liked Manchester United to sign, but he's at PSG. He's not going to United. But it's interesting to see that actually this is a player that we maybe would have gone for if he didn't return to PSG. Chris Wheeler has also reported today that Joe Hugill has agreed a new contract at Manchester United after impressing Ten Hag in pre-season. And I think Joe Hugill has been really great in the academy as well. I think if he's not going to get an opportunity in the first squad, which I think is seeming very unlikely, and I kind of get that because he's not quite ready yet, I think he desperately needs a loan, because I think he's one of those guys that actually has potential to maybe make it at United. Or I think he's one of those players that is definitely at the top of our academy players, but definitely probably isn't like Garnacho or Greenwood or Rashford where they can go right in. I think he's one of those guys that is most likely going to need a loan move. But I have to say I'm a big fan of Joe Hugill, and hopefully he does get a good loan move in January, because it's clear Ten Hag rates him. He's been great in the academy, but I think he needs that loan move just like Charlie McNeil did. Now, talking of strikers, apparently Manchester United made a 50 million bid for Evan Ferguson in the summer, which Brighton laughed off, and rightly so. I like Evan Ferguson, big fan of Evan Ferguson. I think he's absolutely fantastic. And I will say this, if they got 110 million for Moises Caicedo and attackers go for a lot more than midfielders, and this is their academy lad, this guy's going to be 150 million, especially considering he signed a new contract just a couple of months. Now that we've got the transfer news out of the way and rounded up, let's get into the information about Manchester United's emergency meeting going on. What's sort of going on behind the scenes? It's very obvious things aren't good behind the scenes. And an interesting thing is there's a load of reports coming out behind the scenes that this is happening and that is happening, which aren't true. It has actually been confirmed today that the squad still very much back Ten Hag, and Ten Hag does up the dressing room. But there's definitely problems behind the scenes caused by those higher up than Ten Hag, caused by the sort of uncertainty over the takeover. Fabrizio Romano said that, the uncertainty of jobs. I think the distraction of Anthony, Greenwood, off-field situations has been a problem. And it was said today by Mike McGrath that Manchester United Chief Executive Richard Arnold held extraordinary meeting on Monday to address the staff unhappiness over a variety of issues this season. The main topics were Mason Greenwood and the Anthony situation. And the problem is some of the players might not be happy, but the problem at United is that the staff are unhappy, and when the staff are unhappy, it reflects on the players are unhappy, we play a lot worse. And it's very obvious the staff are unhappy at United because the amount of leaks that have been coming out, like the leak about Man United letting a paedophile come to visit them. I just knew with the amount of leaks that was coming out about the club, there was clearly some unhappy staff members. Now, the leaks that came out today or yesterday, by the time this video is up, I don't think it was anything to do with the staff members. I think it was to do with those higher up to kind of try and shift blame onto Ten Hag. But we've had leaks last week about the whole Greenwood situation, how United handled it. We had leaks that United have invited a pedo over. I think it's very obvious that staff are unhappy at United with the amount of leaks that are coming out. And Manchester United have had emergency meetings to discuss how they're going to handle the Greenwood and Anthony situation. Obviously, the Anthony situation is very different to the Greenwood situation, as Anthony has not been charged with anything. And it looks like Anthony could be back sooner than later, just because every day that goes by, there's some kind of evidence that it's more swinging Anthony's way, but we don't know what's going on with that case. But obviously having those problems looming over the staff and the squad definitely is a distraction and definitely has staff members unhappy. Now, Richard Arnold told Manchester United staff this afternoon that summer recruitment will eventually be proved correct and that there's still confidence in Ten Hag. So not only did Richard Arnold have an emergency meeting with the staff about situations going on at Old Trafford. Now, the interesting thing is Mike McGrath doesn't say that he spoke about the takeover, which I think is what's really winding up the staff. I think the staff obviously annoyed with how he dealt with the Greenwood Anthony situation, but especially the Greenwood situation. But I think what's really winding up the staff is uncertainty in a takeover, which doesn't seem to be addressed, which is an absolute joke. And to be honest, it's not Richard Arnold's position to address either. He probably doesn't know what's going on. But what Richard Arnold did address was recruitment. That seems to wind people up at United, lack of recruitment. And apparently he said to his staff that the recruitment's going to be proven correct and that there's still confidence under Erik Ten Hag. So the most important thing that's really come out of this news story from Mike McGrath is that essentially there is confidence behind Erik Ten Hag of Richard Arnold and John Murtough, because there's been a few media PR spins coming out that Ten Hag could be getting sacked and this player and that player turning on Ten Hag and they didn't want to sign Amrabat and stuff, and all this negativity to already try and shift blame towards Ten Hag because the pressure's on. But I like how Richard Arnold apparently in the meeting made it clear that he is backing Ten Hag. And it was said this because a lot of reports have come out that the players are turning on Ten Hag. Apparently this isn't true. Apparently the reports coming out that the players are turning on Ten Hag again is Glazer Media's PR spin. Glazers always leak lies when we get a few bad results to try and turn negativity away from them and onto the manager, as I've said. And it was said by Alex Crook that Erik Ten Hag was applauded by Manchester United players after giving a strong dressing room debrief following last weekend's defeat to Brighton. So obviously reports that Ten Hag lost it, players lost it all in the changing room versus Brighton, but that's a good thing. Ten Hag lost it and, you know, he was applauded because he gave them a very strong speech. Lindelof and Martinez and Bruno lost it, but that's normal after a defeat. You know, what I like about the news coming out today is that the board is still very much backing Ten Hag. The players are behind Ten Hag, is what's coming out in reports today. And, you know, I think all the leaks that came out earlier was a Glazer tactic. I think the Glazers were leaking information that they thought could potentially get people to turn on Ten Hag, like, oh, you know, Amrabat's a Ten Hag signing, so if it goes wrong, it's completely Ten Hag's fault. When actually, you know, it's just another game by United. As soon as we get 3 or 4 bad results in a row, there's leaks that try and spread lies or turn people on the manager. But more and more insights coming out from Romano, Alex Crook, people that aren't Glazer journalists, people that have their own sources, not through the club, that are basically saying, actually, you know, the players backed Ten Hag. He did have a massive go at them after the Brighton defeat, but they're behind him. Now reports coming out that Arnold and Murtough are behind Ten Hag, which is really important for me because some people are Ten Hag out, and I think you can criticise Ten Hag. But if you think Ten Hag's the problem at this football club, you are blind, because nothing's going to change until those above Ten Hag, those who make decisions above Ten Hag, are out. Anyway, that was my late night transfer roundup in less than 12 minutes. Smash a like, smash a subscribe. Thank you for watching. See you next time, and bye.